firearm injuries and deaths have cost New Zealand around 320 million a year, with gun-related homicides at their highest in nearly 20 years. A University of Otago study, the first comprehensive look at everyday firearm harm using Ministry of Health, Police and Chief Coroner data, found that while firearm suicides have actually fallen, assaults and homicides are rising. Legislative reforms in 1992, 2019 and 20, including background checks, helped reduce suicide rates. However, with deaths from firearm assaults increasing since 2014, the study's lead researcher says more regulation is needed. Now, the government is currently rewriting the Arms Act. Associate Justice Minister Nicole McKee said it's old. It's not fit for purpose, even with recent amendments. Meanwhile, Hugh Devereux-Mack from the Council of Licensed Firearm Owners has welcomed the study and supports evidence-based research, and he joins me now. Hello, Hugh.
Hey, good to be here, Leah.
Now, Hugh, do you think this study fairly represents responsible firearm owners in New Zealand?
Look, coming from Otago, I think what we've learned is they were so close to putting out good and useful research, but then as always, they veered off into politics right at the end rather than going for good policy. And we shouldn't be surprised considering they're home to the infamous, we're not going to achieve a great deal by talking about facts, Hera Cook, who was the co-founder of the anti-gun lobby group Gun Control New Zealand. They've gone for the big scary headline at a politically pertinent time and completely misrepresented all of our community and our thing of safety by mixing criminals and suicide in with law-abiding people, because without that they couldn't get the big number or headline, and their data revealed it.
Yeah. So, you're right. It showed that most the non-suicide harm comes from criminal use, not licensed owners. So that's, you just said, that tells us they've kind of lumped it in, but they haven't made it clear.
Yeah, absolutely. They lump it together because without that, they don't make a headline. And we all know it, that for the legislation, no matter what we do on the legal side and to restrict the rights of licensed firearms owners to obey the law, that's not going to affect criminals. And they say, well, maybe it will. I'm like, well, the 2019 changes didn't stop the homicides, clearly, because they're now saying they're at an all-time high. So if it hasn't been working restricting licensed owners, maybe, just maybe, we should start looking at how do we better fund the police and empower them to go after the criminals who are actually doing harm instead of wasting their time chasing after the law-abiding who will never do harm in our communities. But maybe I'm crazy for thinking that.
No. Can we take a look at the police's new licensing model? Can you give us more detail, because you say it will deliver less than half the previous training. Is that correct?
Yes. So to give us a little bit of a context, police originally used the Mountain Safety Council volunteers to deliver training for new license applicants. They've recently decided, you know what, we were going to take that internally to the Firearms Safety Authority and say, okay, we can do a better job of this ourselves. So they got rid of the volunteer model. And now the forecasts that have come out of them show they're going to be doing roughly half the number of approved new licensees than under the volunteer model. They say there's another thing coming, which is we're using back to some sort of community trading and a community training program, but that's all to be decided and not clear. So really what we've done is we've gone from a volunteer model that was sort of working, restricted that back to a professional model, which is really not working, and now we're looking to go to some new model that might be like the last.
Oh, okay. So safe firearm use starts with training, right? So can you give us more detail about the cuts? Is this the hunter education programs, or is this another different one?
So the New Zealand Deerstalkers Association runs the largest volunteer, again, run hunter training program in the country. They train around 450 new hunters, fresh off the street, who may never have picked up a firearm or hunted before. They take them through survival in the bush. They take them through safe firearms handling and teach them to shoot. And then they take them on a hunt and teach them how to butcher the meat themselves so that they have food to feed their family. That's all run by volunteers. Now, for the last few years, that was funded under the previous government with the Jobs for Nature grant and then an extension grant to the NZDA because they were volunteer run and there was a real value to not only the community and safety gains, but also to conservation. they're now left, unfortunately, unfunded. Now, when we look at the hypocrisy of this study, if Otago were really caring about saving lives, instead of saying, you know what, we need to ban things and we need to restrict firearms, I'd expect them to have better calls for more funding for training programs through programs like NZDA or pistol clubs or other things, and more ranges so that we could actually practice our sports safely and train more people to reduce the number of incidents that may happen in our sport. That being said, our sport is one of the safest around. When you consider the numbers for actual ACC figures on injuries, we sit at around 60 a year for accidental injuries as part of our sport. To put that into perspective, that's 376 times lower than rugby. We're very, very safe, and it's because no one in our sport wants to take a risk.
No, I've seen your analysis, and as you said, it shows that shooting sports are far safer than rugby or even road traffic accidents than when you account for participation. So, how do you think that should influence public perception of firearms?
Well, I think it should encourage more people to actually take up shooting sports because A, it'll be safe, they'll have fun, and they'll develop skills which can help them to put food on the table for their families. But when we look more at the safety and the trade-off as to what does it cost to live a regular life and the risks that we all take, one thing that Otago ignored was actually the cost of one of the largest injury culprits, which is falls. ACC data showed that flips, trips, and falls accounted for 39 to 42% all claims, costing around 1.1 billion with a B yearly, which was over 3 times PHSE's regular firearms figures that they gave. And by the way, falls are killing around 3,000 elderly people annually, which is far outstripping even the gun suicide rate. But no one on their team is calling for stair bans or ladder licenses.
No.
They only want to restrict licensed firearms owners.
Stairs.
So again, we come back to
and ladders. Well, we come back to it's
not
the University
policy,
of
political.
It's political. Because, they said that, the deaths from firearm assaults have increased since 2014, hence they want more regulation. Well, that is 13 years ago, 11 years ago, and we have got more guns probably in the country now, I would say. But again, this is from firearm assaults. This is, the people this is from. Why did they not break down how many of these firearm assaults came from people that weren't licensed? Was it gang related? Is it? I didn't see figures on that.